Great. Thanks everyone for joining today at AI You Can Trust. Not just a strategy, secure outcomes. Today, you have me, Ima Miri, and Nick Fagan from Next Practice Management. So we're gonna discuss about AI strategy and security strategy. Before I start the session and basically the talk, I'm gonna give you a short intro about myself and Nick. I come with 20 years of experience in tech industry. Last 10 years, primarily are focused on AI and cloud projects. I worked at Fairfax Media, which is Channel 9 right now in Australia, and eBay Classified Group, primarily on Gumtree Australia, where I work with job adders and car guides brands to help them to acquire more customers through the platform. Sorry?
Alex, you're on. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, sorry. And also I worked at the Trade Desk, which is a US ad tech company where I work on with Fortune 500 companies like Amazon, Pfizer, AstraZeneca. I build solutions for them to leverage their big data in the advertising ecosystem. I also work with federal government Australia through that time to help them to target audiences better across Australia. And similarly, Unilever based in Singapore. That helped me to see how AI projects and cloud projects basically can go successful in production and what could go wrong and what could go successfully. Besides that, I have a Master of Business and Technology that I got it 10 years ago from UTS in Australia. 2 years ago, I started AI Point, where I help businesses to implement generative AI solutions to enhance their operations, working with Sydney-based businesses and also US-based businesses within Canada and US as well. Then I have Nick today on this call. He's a managing director at Next Practice Management. He comes with 20 years plus in business transformation, and his main focus over the last 8 years is around security and compliance strategies for enterprises and governments. And his business basically, I mentioned that, sorry, Next Practice Management. So in this call, I'm going to talk about AI strategy from idea to implementation. And Nick is going to cover around AI security and compliance strategy. And then I'll do a live demo of what is possible to build in with AI. And we do a Q&A at the end. Just when I start my talk with why AI? Why now? I know it's because it's a trend. We are in the hype. And there are so many things is happening right now. But you need to ask the right questions to have the right direction for your AI implementation within your business. What's your goal? What are the market trends in your industry? And what are the risks exist? And that's where the security and compliance strategy becomes important, and how actually you want to adapt AI within your business. Because if you don't have a right vision, it won't work for you. And that's why some businesses are not successful with implementing AI effectively within their business. Because AI needs to be aligned with your business goals, your roadmap, and the data strategy you have. A few weeks ago, I was at an event where one of the business owner actually was saying that the main reason that at the moment they are very successful with AI within their business is because they made the right decision 5 years ago about their data architecture. And that put them in a position that now they are very successful with their AI implementation. So that's why having the right security and compliance strategy, data strategy is important for your business. Having have a conversation over the last 7 months with a lot of business leaders across fintech, marketing space, HR, I learned that there are two different strategies when you're implementing AI initiatives. Some businesses are going with red ocean strategy, where their main focus is around efficiency, cost cutting. Okay, let's implement that AI chatbot that actually works well for my business. But the problem with this strategy is that it gets commoditized very quickly, and it has a minimal differentiation in the market because everyone else is doing chatbot right now, right? But those are successful that they go with the blue ocean. They find the new market opportunity and become innovative. Yesterday, I was reading a post about how successful are the companies that actually using voice recruiter for interviewing candidates. They go 70% more successful in attracting candidates because the voice assistant or voice recruiter basically is less biased, less discriminated towards the gender that they are interviewing, and the interview process becomes more successful. So that's the new market opportunity for those businesses. And the successful businesses I've seen, they combine both approach. They start small with basically red ocean, but it's common in their market to get there, train their team and get on board with AI, and then also evaluate the test. They implement, they find the new opportunity along the way and actually become innovative in their space. So it's really important align your AI strategy with your market positioning and innovate to stay ahead in basically your industry. Because of that, I built a framework that I usually work with businesses. 5 steps to implementing AI in your business. Start with identifying AI opportunities. Because every business has some business challenges, and you want to go successfully implement AI within your business, you need to look at what are the opportunities for you to implement AI. And what I usually say to everyone is that look at profitable AI opportunity, because at the moment with current AI we can do many things. But what are the profitable opportunities in your business that actually can help you bring more revenue, right? Or reduce cost within your business and make your team more productive. And that's the framework that I built for profitable AI opportunities. One is looking at your pain point, the issues that impacting your business right now. And for that, you need to listen to your team's struggles. What's the repetitive task that makes a lot of their time and make them frustrated? Or what's your customers' frustrations based on the feedback they provide, the review that they provide, and so on? And what are your competitors in the market, what they're doing? Can I ask quickly if anyone can put just maybe top 3 pain points that they can think of right now that actually impacting their business? Just in the chat, can you type it? Can you think of something? What are the main pain points that you can just think of, top 3, and put it in the chat? Writing reports. Anyone else? How about you, Marcel? Anyone else? Smart marketing, POC, qualified resources from service industry, customer acquisition, long-term clients acquisition, pricing. Okay, lots of things. So see, there are so many things that everyone managing and rostering a large casual workforce. Right, okay. Sales process. Amazing. So yeah, these are the things that you can think of that impacting your business right now. Financial modeling, bookkeeping, right? Bookkeeping is like one of the main one as well, especially in construction, in inventory businesses. Another aspect is a speed bump, the obstacles that are slowing down your business in the future. They're not stopping your business right now, but more impacting for future. And what I've seen in the industry, working with different businesses, is technology is usually issue. Is outdated technology like PHP code source, old style using the cloud solutions. At the moment, all these cloud, they have lots of features that you can optimize your infrastructure, but they're using very old architecture that custom heaps. Legacy systems, regulation within your industry. I know that you cannot exactly do anything with your regulations within your industry, but knowing that and put the right compliance strategy within your AI implementation can help you implement AI more effectively. So that's why it's really important to list all these speed bump when you're doing the AI opportunity, evaluating your AI opportunities. So once you have a good understanding your AI opportunity, is the time to evaluate and prioritize. And if you work with me, for example, I sit down with you and your team to evaluate this AI opportunity based on inefficiency issues, critical issues that they're causing, and profitability for your business. What could bring basically more money or reduce your cost, and etc. Because they're reducing the cost is has different aspects from the efficiency for your team and also infrastructure costs and so on. And then once we evaluate those opportunities, we can map them with the right AI solutions. Because you might think that, okay, that needs an AI agent. And honestly, over the last few months, many people ask me, can you build an AI agent? But they don't necessarily need an AI agent because that works with the only AI workflow, or that can be solved only with the AI assistant and so on. Because AI agents sometimes come very costly. And that's what I help with businesses with. Then we have assessing AI readiness. Because once you get better understanding actually on what you're going to do, you need to look at what you already have in place. And that's where I can sit with your team and help you on looking at your data. Do you have actually good quality data? Is your infrastructure actually built really well in a way that you can utilize that data properly for new solutions? And what's your cloud infrastructure? Last year, I worked with a stock trading companies based in US. They said that, oh, we wanted that AI agent. Looking at their infrastructure, they were using a lightweight cloud and lots of their data scattered everywhere. So we needed to fix the whole cloud architecture infrastructure, then be able to actually implement everything for them because those AI agents and assistants are powerful if you make them data-driven based on your data. And similarly for your security and compliance, you need to have the right strategy, and where that Nick can help basically to look at your security and compliances and have the right strategy in place within your business. And also is the next one is business impact. What are the ROI, positive ROI for your AI implementation, and what's the scaling opportunity? Once we done the AI assessing AI readiness, we can look at build or buy. I know a lot of businesses, they go straight away to build or buy, but you need to go through the 3 previous steps to have a better understanding on what you want to build or buy, basically. And actually, the real question is not on only build or buy, is with the hybrid approach. Because building AI in-house is good. It gives you a full control, IP ownership, competitive edge, but at the same time, you have a big headcount. You need a big headcount to hire people, train them, they start building. I know that a lot of banks using that approach and they're struggling, similar to CBA and others. Buying AI is good, effective, but at the same time, you come with the vendor locking. And successful businesses, they go hybrid. They buy some off-the-shelf tools, they build some in-house, they outsource some of the custom solutions. Once you make the right decision on the build or buy, I usually suggest on starting small. Because going from an idea to production, it's actually like a planting. You need to be patient. And you need to pitch it, test it with your end user and so on, and then get it to the production. And a lot of time, based on what I've seen in the industry, before it goes to production, a lot of time the idea gets killed completely because the end user is just doesn't use it that way. Or you have to reiterate and change it again and again until it becomes something that the end user likes and want to use that. And then it comes to the investment. It depends on how much you want to invest for your AI implementation. Just want to go 10K per year and live in a share room is similar to like investing for your living. Or you want to go with the 10K per month and live in a really good house, or 10K per day, live in a penthouse in the right in the city. So it depends on that. Definitely your investment and the way that you implement your AI will be varied. And with the power of AI right now, we are really capable of doing a lot of things with AI. I will show you in today's live demo that what we have built with different tools. It's never been really good to be in tech because like last 10 years, when I was working on traditional machine learning solutions, it takes months for us to build something. Now it takes just a few days. And that's really powerful. And it's all about like this AI developer assistant we use. For example, Lovable.dev, Copilot, Amazon Q. We use it primarily for AWS infrastructure. Replit, we use it as a lightweight for businesses that they want to go with validating their idea. We go with Replit. You can build quickly, get it to production, and test your idea. And then Cursor, which also is similar to Copilot, a full stack developer assistant. I'll show you what we have built using these assistants towards the end. And then another set of tools that I really like is Zapier, Make, and N8N. Zapier is around more tools integration or API integration. Then we have Make, which is more around AI workflow automation, and N8N, which is AI workflow automation, plus is very agent. You can build AI agent really well within your, for your basically idea. There is also another tools coming up, Google Opal, which is not available in Australia yet, but that's also similar to N8N. It's designed by Google and it's allowing you to build AI workflows very quickly with the drag and drop. I'll also show you a live demo towards the end that we built with low-code, no-code platform as well. So far, what I've seen in the industry and has been worked well for businesses, it was the businesses that actually have data privacy and security in mind from day one. Because it's really important to know who controls your data. And then in terms of scalability, it's really important to know that if that solution actually scale with your business and your customer demand. Yes, we can build something simple with some of these AI tools, but would that be the right solution for long term? As someone that works with companies that like startups that they have like maybe 100 users, 1,000 users, to companies like eBay and the trade desk that they handle millions and the trade desk billions of data in milliseconds. So scalability is really important to think of where that your solution and idea heading, right? And that's pretty much it. So if you're ready to implement your AI, I have a couple of workshops. I'm offering AI strategy from idea to implementation, where I help you to map out a 90-day AI roadmap with measurable ROI for your business. Practical AI masterclass for business leaders, focus on your use cases for your professional career, and AI workflow automation, where I help you to build AI workflow without any technical skills. So I'll put the link in the chat, and there's a 40% off on my workshop. And that's it. I'll hand over it to Nick.
Thanks, Ima. Can you see that presentation? Is that clear for everybody? Can you see the presentation? Yeah?
Yes.
We're going to have the QA at the end.
Yeah. Great. Thank you very much, Ima. And I was really pleased to hear you start out from the top in terms of you don't have a strategy, you don't know where you're going. And it's very important to embed those at the very beginning of any of your ventures, which is just great to hear. Because I think even when you're touching on that 90-day cadence and planning, that's similar to what we talk about as well and what we do. But just a little bit of background. I think Ima touched on NPX and what we're about. We come from a coaching growth program and a company that deals with organizations that are looking to grow, from startups to established companies, helping them get clear on their direction. And also, as Ima touched on, is working with companies to understand and map out their compliance frameworks and requirements. It's very important to state from the very beginning that, and I get corrected on this a bit, but I'll say it, that not everybody gets out of bed for compliance, but people do get out of bed to grow their business and grow themselves. That's a distinction we try to make here, that compliance is a necessary part of doing business. And Ima touched on that, and she'll probably talk about it in some of the use cases as well, of how to use that within the structure of your plans, strategic plans. But I'm touching on trustworthiness at the moment around AI governance. And the topic here we're touching on is looking at how to build frameworks within your business to help with governance and control, but also using that as a sort of marketing advantage. And some of the stats you see here in the introduction is that estimated growth market to 738 billion by 2030, which is quite significant. That's a 38.1% growth rate annually. And it's sort of, I don't know if you feel it, but we certainly do, is that, and Ima's dealing with this day to day, that there is a rush in this area, and people are trying to grapple with how best to engage. And Ima laid out a particular hierarchy of which you can apply to go through to get to that point, because there's a great rush to use these particular tools and agents. But I think the strategy piece is very important, and Ima made that very clear in her hierarchy document. But I was fortunate enough last week to take part in the Tech in Government symposium in Canberra. And in all the conversations that were being led from the Australian Signals Directorate through to the government agencies and also suppliers and vendors, the fact is that trust was the number one factor that came up in conversations, and how to demonstrate that trust to your end users and markets to ensure that you have a competitive advantage to demonstrate, bring it out of the labs, put it in front of people to say, this is how we govern our AI within business, to give people assurance. So I'll just move on to the next slide. This is a few stats that were brought together by KPMG and the University of Melbourne, which are pretty profound. There's 48,000 people across 47 countries took part in this particular survey. And while global, I wanted to bring it back to the Australian market, but it does apply internationally, is that if you look at those stats on the left with the workplace AI use, 65% suggest that employers are using AI. 59% admit to making mistakes or admit mistakes due to AI reliance. 57 hide AI use and present AI generated work as their own. That's probably no surprise. And the key stat, I believe, in this context is only 30% of Australian organisations have a generative AI policy or governance structure. And if you flip that across to the part of the slide, which talks about what are the expectations, and it was touched on in this Tech in Government conference in Canberra last week, but really, when you think about it, the governance piece is the piece that's missing. And 77% of Australians support stronger AI regulation. 83%, which is a huge number, say they trust AI more with international standards and oversight. And globally, 70% believe current laws are inadequate to ensure safe AI use. And I've given the market as it stands, I'm sure that's not too surprising to people. But this exercise and the things I'm talking about is assurance, building, and trust. So security within AI. Well, this is what we call a unifying definition, and this could be a ChatGPT definition, but trustworthy AI refers to systems that are ethically designed, securely deployed, transparently operated, and continuously monitored for improvement and adaptation to ensure they are fair, reliable, and aligned with societal values. This is our challenge across the globe, and in conversations from talkback radio through to webinars and podcasts, people are grappling with these particular topics in terms of building out that security. And think about security as assurance and trust, hand in glove. And what we're talking about is some of the areas you can rely on. You're not alone. People are trying to grapple with these subjects all the time. And invariably now we get the questions, as does Ima, as to where do we start? Where do we start when it comes to actually looking at use of AI, how to best use it within business, but how do we secure it? So a key distinction here is what we like to say is building to bringing trustworthy AI. On the left, you've got building trustworthy AI. This is the key foundations where you, as an organization, you as a vendor or supplier, need to be probably looking at the fairness, transparency, security, and explanation of your AI trustworthiness. And I'm going to touch on these frameworks, so please don't get lost in the numbers, but you can apply frameworks, and these are great guidance statements and documents and reference points to give you a way of building that security within your organization and demonstrating that to the market. There's ISO standards 42001, ISO 27001, NIST, which is the US government AI risk management framework to guide development. So you actually got some reference points here. Here we try to ensure governance, life cycle management, and continuous monitoring and improvement that are implemented. If you're doing those things, you're able to demonstrate to people that these are the ways that you systematically manage the AI environment and the development of AI, then that gives me as an end user assurance. And with assurance comes trust and then more engagement. And we just say here, without building trustworthy AI, there's no substance to stand on. You can't bring what doesn't exist, okay? On the right-hand side here is bringing So we've got building and then bringing trustworthy AI. This is about the communication, credibility, and operationalization. And in this case, we're talking about translating technical trust into stakeholder confidence, demonstrating trustworthiness through audits and certifications to the market, embedding responsible AI practices into external perception, partnerships, and regulation. Even the most ethical system can be met with skepticism if trust isn't brought to life. This is really where you're able then to present this to your stakeholders internally and externally to say, hand on heart, we are compliant with certain standards. This is us demonstrating to you that we are actually held to account, and we do have good rigor and frameworks around our governance, risk, and compliance that help us manage that, which gives you as the end user confidence. Just for those who don't know, I just got a note down the bottom there. ISO is the International Standards Organization out of Geneva. And this group bring together industry experts to agree on effectively the best way of doing things, the agreed standards, if you like. And given that they are an international representation, they are generally the gold standard when it comes to demonstrating to the market how you would meet information security management or AI security management. So, which is more important in this case? We would say they're interdependent, and building trustworthiness is very much, we say, building the foundations within your organization to demonstrate to people, which is non-negotiable. This is the way we manage our AI. This is how we manage our information security. These are the practices, the policies, and the activities within your business that shore up that risk, if you like. Having that, then we say, well, we bring the trustworthiness into AI, is converting that foundation into public or consumer trust. It's really where you're activating those activities within your business for governance and then demonstrating to end users, particularly, that we have a framework we work within. And I suppose the example we've given here is like the picture on the left is a bridge. So we go about building those foundations for the bridge, firm foundations, which would be your governance, your risk, and your compliance management, to then invite people to walk across the bridge with you. But the fact is, no bridge, no foundation, no trust. At the end of the day, that's what it comes to. So I think Ima was very clear on particularly the opportunities that AI bring to organizations. And with opportunities come challenges and risks. They go hand in glove, generally speaking. So some of the key areas of challenge and risk within the areas and putting that way of thinking to your business around governance, risk, and compliance, some of the key areas are prejudice and inequity, uncertain responsibilities, security concerns, vulnerabilities, regulatory complexity, data privacy, and also environmental impact. These are just some of the areas. And if you were to go about practicing good risk management, you could capture these in your given context and your given business and be very clear on those areas of risk that come with the opportunities that Ima was talking about. So just a bit of flavor here. And remember, governance is the overarching way that you would go about mitigating those risks. And when we do this analysis up front, risks can be defined and risks are finite. They're not going to be infinite, but if you're paying attention to the things that matter, you'll capture those risks early. I just want to talk about global AI governance at the moment, key regulations. I'm not going to go into too much detail here. And while we're at it, Ima and I were talking about sharing these slides with participants as well, so you'll get access to this information. But if you look around the wheel there, you've got different, depending on where your jurisdiction is and also where you're doing business, these are some of the complexities when it comes to regulatory frameworks you need to be aware of. From China to the US, OECD, IEEE, NIST, EU, there are regulations that you need to be aware of in your given jurisdiction. But remembering where there is key regulations and requirements, there is also assistance. So these organisations do offer guidance with respect to how you might navigate those compliances. So don't think you're alone. There are very good supporting information available, but also that's where we come in and help you map that based on where your operations lie. But just to be aware, we're going to bring this down a little now into the Australian landscape and some of the key frameworks that are in play here on the left-hand side. You'll see some of them. And I have links to these, by the way, that I'll be able to share. All current. You notice that the year is 2024. So government and agencies are trying to keep up with the changing landscape, which is always going to be lag because things move so quickly. But doing their best in terms to give some frameworks where there's reference points for organisations like yours to draw some examples of what good governance looks like. We talked about some of the ISO standards. We'll go into that in a moment, but there are frameworks you can draw on as well and reference. But again, we can help you navigate that if it comes to it. So I want to just move into the international standards organisation offerings, and there's NIST here as well. So just before we do get into this compliance and control conversation, you are probably practicing a number of elements of control already, okay, to be clear. So you're part way there in terms of what you might be meeting by way of requirement. So have some confidence there when you're engaging with these. These ISO standards can seem overwhelming, but they're not. They're guidance documents. They're able to give you a framework. Outside of anything else, if you had nothing, you could go to these and work out how you might structure your governance programs for AI and information security. So just quickly, ISO 27001 is very much around information security management. Okay, the information that is very critical to your organization and also the clients that you're dealing with. What is the critical information that you're dealing with and need to secure? ISO 42000, which is AI management systems, a governance structure with, again, a control set that you're able to apply to your organization, whether you're in development or in industry. And then there's NIST, which I find this is a very good document too, which is the risk management framework and guidance. So there's 3 reference points for you to actually leverage and get some sort of baseline as to what your control set looks like. Can I just also say, there's an assumption that these standards apply to all of government. All of organisation, not all of government, but all of organisation. But the fact is, you can be very clever in defining what scope this applies to within your business. And how we define scope is primarily looking at what your customer or end user needs assurance around. So you might focus on particular development, not whole of enterprise. So you might focus on particular parts of your business. Therefore, all the control sets may or may not apply. Some will, some won't, depending on that scope. So be confident where you might want to apply these particular standards, and being clear on that helps you set up what you'll need to do by way of activity and ensuring your governance, risk and compliance program, just so you're not overwhelmed. That's just what I'm saying. So where the principles and controls of those standards, whether it be ISO 42001 or 27001, is about accountability, fairness, safety and robustness, transparency and privacy. And I've put a little note there in the box. It's like there's 38 specific controls in ISO 42001 which relate to AI governance. And I'm going to talk about that framework in a moment. Don't be overwhelmed by those 38 controls because, as I just said, depending on your scope, maybe not all 38 are applicable, okay? Just by way of reference here, on the left-hand side, you'll see there's clauses and controls that are listed, yeah? All the ISO standards are structured much the same, and there's overlap between the standards. So thinking that you might have to do 2 sets of controls may not be the case. With some good analysis, there's overlap and there's efficiencies to be gained. But you can see from the top down, and going back to Ima's point, when you talk about the structure of organisation, the context of the organisation is critical. It is who you're dealing with and what you do that needs to be mapped. But it starts with leadership. And I think Ima touched on that. It starts with strategy and leadership and planning. And then it works through right the way. It's a good blueprint for business when you think about it, from leadership to planning to support to operations, performance evaluation improvement. That cycle of what we call plan, do, check, act sits on the left-hand side here. It's a great way, and very much like Ima's hierarchy, it approaches it from the top down, okay? And in this case, we need to start with leadership, and then leadership to planning to support operation, performance evaluation, improvement. That's a plan, do, check, act cycle in play there. So in the middle, you have some Australian initiatives where you can meet those requirements and start to map an alignment description. Not to go into too much detail, we'll give you these slides, but you can see that if you were to read that again, there may be things that you're doing already in the control set that are readily applicable to the standards we're talking about. And of course, I'm going to plug the fact is, why would you do AI governance and not information security governance when in fact you could be doing both? There's efficiencies to be gained here, and looking at those two standards and the control sets is what is beneficial here. So what we have is comprehensive protection, harmonized controls, broader application, and future-proof compliance. Okay, but again, getting back to the use of these elements and some of the controls you'll put in place is that foundation of trust, of which then you can build that bridge to invite your end users, clients to walk on with you, because you've got those firm foundations that you can put to the market and give people assurance that you are managing AI risk and information security risk. So just by way of test case, I think trust-driven use cases, I should say, Ima touched on some of the areas of AI use cases. But if you were to look at something like fintech, where the integrated challenge would be credit scoring, transparency, and data privacy, then the combination strategy would be ISO 27001 for data encryption and ISO 42000 for model explainability. And the trust and assurance outcome is customer trust aligned with regulatory mandates. So you've actually got 3 steps there to actually go about managing the risk and control within that sector by applying some elements of ISO 27001 and 42001 with that outcome. We've got some other examples there, but you can see where you're able to look at that integrated challenge, use these 2 frameworks to come together to protect both the AI and information security. And it's quite a long list here, but I just wanted to give you some of these controls that, again, while being generic, if applied, would be meeting and could be meeting some of the requirements of ISO 42001 and 27001. I put this slide in because you may have some of these controls in place already, which is terrific. And I'm not going to read them out, but you can see that there's 11 listed here, and that's only a sample of what would be good practice or best practice as a minimum. But again, by doing these activities, you're meeting the criteria of those standards. And there's 11 listed here, but there are more. So tools and guides to get you started. I'm going to put a list of these links that we have here. Some are from our website, which gives you a clear explanation on how you get yourself started for AI management and then also information security management. Okay, thinking that you're probably practicing some of these controls already, great. Here's a website link that gives you a step-by-step, but also a downloadable option in there that gives you a guide. Okay, so very, very good information. I've put in there the National Framework for Assurance from the Department of Finance and NIST, plus, Australian AI Ethics Principles. So I'll just put them in the chat after I finish my presentation. Much like Ima, we're offering a no obligation 1-hour tactical workshop. You can reach out directly to me or Ima for that matter. The idea is to set that roadmap for you from a governance, risk and compliance perspective and that angle to try and help you build that bridge of trust on what you're doing already, but try to elevate that and get it out to those in the market to see that you are trustworthy, you have systems and processes in place to mitigate your risk and therefore the risk to end users. I'm sure that in some of the cases, Ima will demonstrate she can sort of talk to some of those controls. I have my email there. I'll take a snapshot, but Ima will have that as a follow-up as well. We're always open to a conversation. There's no obligation, but we're able to get you a start at least, demystify any of the concerns that you may have, and give you confidence that you were on your way to primarily building your bridge of trust. And that's where we will be coming from. So that's my presentation. Thank you very much, Ima.
Yeah.
I'll put those links in the chat now.
Yeah, sure.